Hello, I'm Peter Vaughan, and today I'm at the Buxton Caravan and Motorhome Club site set in this beautiful former quarry. And the van I've brought to show you is from Tourne, a Slovenian brand that made its debut in the UK in February at the NEC. They're exclusively imported by Yorkshire Rose Motorhomes, who are based by the Robin Hood Airport near Doncaster. Their range is very simple and straightforward, all based on Peugeot Boxer panel vans. They offer the Cruise, the more affordable version, and the Select, which has a few bits of extra spec and different furniture. Both models come in 6 metre, the 6.0, with a transverse double bed at the back, or the 6.4, obviously on the longer, the extra long Boxer van at 6.36 metres, near enough 6.4, and that has the option of sleeping lengthways at the back because it has a larger bedroom area, but is otherwise broadly very similar. Now, let's go and have a look at this one, which is the Cruise 6.4, starting at £72,085. Now, that standard price, £72,085, includes an increased spec for the UK. Yorkshire Rose have added various features that aren't standard on the continent. However, there are still some extras on the base vehicle side, the Peugeot side of this particular example, taking the price up to £80,852. Now, by far and away the most expensive option is to upgrade from the standard 140 horsepower engine with manual gearbox to this version's 180 horsepower motor, still 2.2 litre diesel, but with the new 8-speed automatic gearbox, because now at last you can get this Peugeot Boxer with an automatic. But to have the increased power and the automatic gearbox is a £6,877 option. And then on top of that, you have this iron grey paint. Now, white is the standard colour, and then there are 5 optional colours, all of them various shades of grey. Not quite 50 shades of grey, but 5 shades of grey, and the iron grey paint is £848. The other options on this vehicle are things you can't see. So tyre pressure monitoring at £232, a heated windscreen at £373, and the intelligent electronic drive control, which I think is what Fiat call Traction Plus, with downhill assist and camper specific ESP settings, and that's £426. Everything else you see on this van is part of the standard UK spec. That includes the alloy wheels and the 140 watt solar panel on the roof. As standard anyway from Tourne are these completely flush fitting habitation windows, very nice, aren't they? And these graphics, which I think suit the van very well. They're nice and restrained. Dimensions, 6.36 metres long, 2.05 metres wide, excluding the mirrors, and 2.63 metres high. Of course, it's on a 3.5 tonne chassis, so you can drive it on a standard car licence. And payloads, well, if you go for the manual gearbox version, 472 kilos. If you go for the automatic, as here, down to 382 kilos. Now, you might think that there's nothing to see. It's just another toilet servicing hatch, apart from this one attaches magnetically for easy servicing. And then just inside the door there, you also have your fittings for your outside shower. Now that just plugs in, and then you've got hot and cold outside shower. So how much water have you got for cleaning the kids and the dog? Well, the freshwater tank is inboard for winterisation, and that's 95 litres. And then the wastewater tank is underslung, but very, very thoroughly insulated. If you look at it, it is surrounded by insulation, and it's heated from the diesel heating as well. Heating, by the way, is a Webasto 4 kilowatt diesel only system. And Tourne talk a lot about this camper being for all season, for winter use. And if you tap along the sides, it does sound a bit sound deadened. That's because they wrap the whole interior from the cab back right into the cab ceiling, fully around the inside of the vehicle with Armorflex insulation. And then in the floor, there's a 30mm XPS insulated floor as well. So, with the heated underslung tank and all that insulation, well, this should be a camper that's ready for winter. At the back, again, it's all very subtle with the Tourne branding, and again, these nice flush fit windows. You've got your reversing camera as standard in the UK spec, and then when you open the back doors, you've got this very large loading area under the bed. It's 1.67 metres long into the van, 99 centimetres wide, and a minimum of 66 centimetres high under here. You've got shelves on either side, and the front partition can slide back if you want to get a really long load in there, but it is there to prevent lighter items, maybe your folding chairs and so on, to stop them from sliding forward under braking. So unless you do need the extra length, best to keep that closed. You've got your fixed tie down hooks for any heavier items. You've got a heater outlet there and just a little courtesy light. And then over at the side here, of course, is your gas locker. That just holds one cylinder. We've got a normal 6 or 7 kilo cylinder in there. On the subject of gas, it is only one cylinder because your heating is diesel, fridge is a compressor, so the only gas usage is for your hob and for your water heater, which is a Whale 8-litre boiler mounted underneath the vehicle. But there's room for a few bits and bobs alongside, and then this I'll show you, that is for emptying your grey waste tank. At the side here you've got a 12 volt socket and 230 volt socket, and in a minute I'll also show you the extra storage you can create if you want to get bikes on board. So this device that I showed you, well, you can see where to put it in. Wastewater is marked on the side of the van, but it is a hands and knees job to get down and then attach it onto a bracket and then just twist to release. It is a nice wide bore outlet, so it should drain down nice and quickly, but I think I definitely tick the box, the options box marked electric dump valve. So the full height storage I mentioned, well, you have to turn and stack these cushions, and the big one in the middle does take a bit of turning. Reminds me of Margaret Thatcher. The cushion is not for turning. Or the lady was not for turning. But you can do it. And then just lift the 3 vented bed panels, and now you can get anything built bulky, bikes, IKEA furniture, trips to the tip, whatever, you've got the space for it. And if you wondered what's stuffed in here, well, these are mattress toppers for both the back bed and the front one. And then if we take a look down the off side, you've got your fresh water filler, your gas barbecue point That's standard, as is the 2-lay Omnistore awning. That's standard for the UK. Now, don't take any notice of the freestanding step here. They will have an electric step, automatically retracting. It's just something that this one hasn't got at the moment. Other than that, of course, the sliding door stays on the offside, although it's a right-hand drive vehicle, in common with a lot of other Continental-built campervans. And then at the front, well, this is the latest look for the Peugeot Boxer. I much prefer it, I have to say, to the new look of the Fiat. The Tourne branding and the front fog lights are also included in the spec. But what about inside this Tourne cruise? Well, for a start, they certainly haven't forgotten your coat hooks. There are 4 of them on the washroom wall there. The layout, well, it's the typical Continental style half dinette lounge, but the travel seat, well, it's got a little bit of angle to the squab. It's got these bolsters that sort of keep you in place, so a couple of passengers here will be quite comfortable on the road. Usual wall-mounted table, but it does have a nice sort of clean Scandinavian feel to the interior, with this pale woodwork, simple design around the windows, this nice plastic moulding, all very easy to keep clean and smart. One thing you notice straight away is that you haven't got the sunroof, you haven't got the full height walk-through into the cab, you've got the overcab shelf instead. Now, Tourne say that that's because not only do you get more storage, but also it gives greater structural rigidity to the body. So there's a positive to that as well. They don't offer a pop top either, because this, they say, is a winterised campervan, and you can't winterise a pop top when it's raised. So as we'll see later on, they go about giving you 4 berths in a completely different way. You've got the usual stepped floor, some nice lighting details. I like these little swivel spotlights, and I like the LED set into the roof just above the cab there. It gives illumination into the cab space. Another little detail is this shoe rack on the side of the seat. Oh, that's clever. Otherwise, under the seat at this end by the wall, you've got your 95 ampere AGM battery. Of course, that can be upgraded to lithium, but that's with all the habitation electrics under the seat there. Quite neatly done. UK spec does include a set of removable carpets, although they're not in this van. And well, I think I'd leave them at home anyway, because up in this top cupboard, you've got a switch for the mains powered electric floor heating, which runs through the main aisle through the vehicle. So when you get out of bed in the morning, or if you're just walking around in socks, you're not walking on a cold floor. And that really is a nice feature to find in a campervan. I think the furniture is very nicely finished too. It's poplar ply with a high quality HPL laminate and some solid wood edging units on some of the top cupboards as well. And there's a really neat way that the table extends. It's almost like a jigsaw, the way this panel lifts up. You slide it out. Under the back of the seat there's a cupboard that you keep these extra panels in. And how about that? As I say, like a jigsaw, and very clever, I think. And not only can you extend the table, but you can add an extra seat too. Simply slide out a frame from the end of the kitchen and add a cushion from the overcab. And that extension takes away no storage from the kitchen. It makes a little extra seat when you're dining, or when I was watching a video last night, somewhere to put your feet up. Just like the lounge, the kitchen seems very conventional, very typical continental campervan, but it just does it well. So you've got lift up worktop extension and a decent size one. It's the usual Dometic combined cooker and sink, just 2 burners and the sink. There's no oven or grill option at the moment on the Tourne, but well, that's typical for a continental campervan like this. What I really like is the design of the cupboards. Well, there are no cupboards, it's all drawers, and you just release the positive locking catch, and then because you've got these sections at the top, you just put your hand in and they're all soft close. Now at this end of the kitchen, the drawers are double layered, and at this end they're deep cupboards without that top layer, deep drawers I should say. And then you've got other neat little touches. You've got somewhere to hang a tea towel or whatever. Just one main socket here. There is another one down on the floor, or down by floor level in front of the half-dinette bench. And then you've got these little lift out compartments. They're quite neat for any little odds and ends. This little shelf, which is just the right size for my washing up liquid and tea towel. And then your top cupboard, even then, they've put a rail in so that things don't come crashing out. Then beyond that, well, you've got your 84-litre compressor fridge. That's a decent size for a van like this, and it's at eye level, so everything's nice and easy to find. So you don't mix up your crème pâté with your Lindt chocolate. Underneath that, you can use this locker either as shelved storage, or there's a hanging rail in there as well. If you take the shelves out, then that becomes your wardrobe. And then finally, you have a slide out, quite a good size one at the back for bottles, tins, whatever you want to put in there. I think in the brochure it shows it full of wine bottles. And before we move on from the subject of cooking, I've got this new set of stackable pans from Outwell called the Feast Ceramic Set M. Now, obviously in a small van like this, it is vital that you use your storage wisely. And although there is very good storage actually in this Tourne. So, come in their own storage bag. Got a saucepan, a lid that fits the saucepan, got a small pan or a larger pan which will also take that lid, and then the handles for the frying pan and the saucepan there. Soft touch, and they just screw on. The key thing is not only are they stackable so they don't take up too much space, but they're the right sort of size for campervan cooking, and they can be used on any heat source. So from cooking to washing, and the tambour door to the washroom, you just give it a slight push before sliding it back. Good to see that the door travels closed, so any whiffs stay in the washroom. And well, it's a good sized space for a campervan, all nicely finished too. And I really like this good sized solid feeling wash basin. Nice big mirror, and your storage again has fiddle rails to keep everything in place. There's a decent amount of room to use this swivel cassette toilet, although it is just a tad high. You've got an array of hooks for flannels, towels, robes, anything you need, and then a drying rail above, so if you get soaked when you're out hiking, well, plenty of room to dry those wet coats and so on. And well, it's heated in here too, and there's a roof vent above, so it's ideal for that purpose. When you're showering, the tap simply pulls out and becomes your shower head. And actually, you might find it easiest to sit on the loo to shower. There's no curtain to get stuck to. It's all just a wipe clean space. Obviously you will have to dry things down afterwards when you finish, but there shouldn't be too much of that because there are 2 outlets in the shower tray. Otherwise, if you want to stand, well, because of the size of that basin, there isn't a vast amount of space to stand and shower, but it is doable because I did it this morning. And so to the bedroom, and the first thing is that there's a slide out step that even incorporates a little bit of storage. Now that makes access to the bed very easy, and because this is the 6.4 model, you can sleep lengthways, although you could equally sleep across the vehicle if you preferred. Now, bed measurements. If you measure the mattress as we traditionally do, the bed is only 1.86 metres long on this side and 1.76 metres long over on the near side. That's 6'1" or 5'9". However, if you measure from the end of the cabinets to the back wall, you've got another 10 centimetres, so the bed's up to 1.96 metres long or 6'5". Equally, if you measure the mattress across the width of the vehicle, it is 1.82 metres or round about 6 foot. However, because they've nicely moulded into the side of the Peugeot panel van, well, there's a bit more width there as well, so 1.89 metres wall to wall or 6'2½". The key thing, if you sleep lengthways, well, you've got this little cutout at the foot of the bed as well, and that step, so access is easy. You don't have to climb over your partner, and if you sleep lengthways, of course, there's room to sit up in bed. Although you will have to be careful not to damage these nice pleated blinds. Back here, well, you've got little reading lights on either side. You've got USBs at that end of the bed, and these shelves to keep your phone, your magazines, whatever. You've also got good storage for more clothes in these top lockers, and plenty of ventilation because you've got these opening windows at the back, an opening window at the side, and that big push-up Hecky roof light, same as the one over the lounge. It is a really good sized bed, and with this mattress topper, which comes as standard in the UK, it should be very, very comfortable too. I slept without the mattress topper last night and it was still comfortable, so I'm expecting an even better night's sleep tonight. You've got rear speakers on either side, at the back here too, and even a little blue night light so you can find your way to the loo in the night without waking up your partner. And then there's this cord across the ceiling at the back here, which I can only assume is that you could hang a curtain to give privacy to this rear bedroom. But this isn't the only sleeping space in this van, because Tourne have their Dream 4 system. Now, first stage, the front bed is to lift off the table. And yes, I meant to do that because the little bit of table leg goes in a slot in the floor. The main table reattaches on a lower position, and then it slides out and has these support legs. You then need 2 of those jigsaw pieces that we saw earlier. So unlike the table extension, which uses 1 of those, this time we have 2. And then there's a further extension on this part of the seat, again with its own support legs. And then finally, that rear seat section, or the footstool section pulls out, and that gives you your bed base. You've then got two infill cushions that store over the cab and bigger cushions that complete the bed. So you end up with a nice flat bed with its own mattress topper. Now it's obviously a slightly odd shape because it has to fit round the end of the kitchen. So teenager this side, smaller child that side. Bed dimensions, 1.78 metres long on this side, and that is the mattress length. Over on this side it's 1.35 metres, so 5'9" here and 4'5" there. The maximum width of the bed is 1.16 metres or 3'10", and it narrows at the foot here to 74 centimetres or 2'5". Much better than many dinette beds I've seen. You've got plenty of wiggle room at the end of the bed between the mattress and the door, so somebody that was 6 foot could sleep here. In fact, one adult would have a very generous single bed. So whether it's one big person or one medium and one little one, it's a better berth than you'd often get in the front of a camper van. So driving this Peugeot Boxer, well, the spec of the cab includes this Kenwood unit. It's a lot smaller than some of the factory fitted displays you get from Fiat and so on these days, but it does the job. You've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and your reversing camera built all into that screen. In terms of other spec, well, you've got your air conditioning. It's just the on-off air conditioner, not the climate control. You've got a leather steering wheel. You've got USB A and C points in there. And you have the larger 90-litre diesel fuel tank. What you don't get is a spare wheel. You just get the fix and go kit. All the things like cruise control included as standard, but if you want to go further with things like all the driver assistance packages, well, they are optional. An electric parking brake is an option too. You've still got the old manual parking brake. If you want the electric parking brake, that's £518. And then there is the full adaptive package if you want autonomous driving level 2 package safety. Well, that gives you all the modern assistance systems, automatic lights and wipers, automatic low and main beam, adaptive cruise control and the digital instruments and the electric parking brake. But it will set you back £2,153. And there are other options that you can add as well. You don't have to go as far as that. But everything you really need is here as standard. So driving this latest Peugeot Boxer, well, I have to say it's all very familiar. Not just because it's a Peugeot Boxer, but because the Peugeot Boxer is pretty much the same thing as a Fiat Ducato. And in this latest guise, it's even more the same as a Fiat Ducato, because now it's the same spec, the same engines, same automatic gearbox. It's 8-speed now rather than the 9-speed, and I am hearing some reliability worries on that 9-speed gearbox, so let's hope this 8-speed one is better. Certainly it's every bit as good from a driving point of view. The old criticisms of the Fiats and Peugeots are still there. You've still got these hard scratchy plastics. It doesn't exactly shout quality in here. And they still haven't added any tilt adjustment on the steering column. You've got a bit of reach adjustment, but I find that unless the steering wheel's on its lowest possible position, well, I couldn't drive it with the steering wheel up here. Of course, this example has the 180 horsepower engine. Notice that it's got stop start as well. It's got the 180 horsepower engine, So it does go well. I have to say, I mean, this one's only got 1,000 miles, 1,003 miles on the clock. So it's not loosened up yet, and it's not perhaps quite as quick as I'd have hoped. What I do notice is that with all the insulation that Tourne have put into this vehicle and the quality of the furniture, it's very quiet on the road. I mean, there was a particularly rough bit of road there, and yeah, a few very, very minor squeaks, but God, this thing is quiet compared with most of its rivals, and certainly very quiet compared with most coach-built motorhomes. 180 horsepower engine, back to that. Yeah, I mean, it's pulling up this gradient, we're accelerating. It's a nice option to have, and actually if you're going for the automatic gearbox on this vehicle, it's not that big a jump to go from the 140 auto to the 180 auto in terms of cost, so you probably might as well tick the 180 auto. Of course, all these Peugeot Boxers, they have a firm ride, but that does mean that they're very, very stable in crosswinds and on a twisty country road like, you know, like this. We're going through the Peak District and you can enjoy the drive. It's not the last word in modernity or refinement, but it handles well. As I say, the big thing is that it's quiet. There's no rattles. Isn't that lovely? A campervan with no rattles. So, time to sum up on this Tourne Cruise 6.4. But before I do, please don't forget to like this video and of course to subscribe to the channel. It really does help us to continue to bring you all this content. But back to the Tourne, and well, if you look at the floor plan, if you just look at the design, take a quick peep through the door, well, you could think it's just like so many other European campervans. But that would be to sell this Slovenian van short, because it eschews all the bling. It goes instead for practicality and solid build quality. Really impressed by that. There's some really nice details too, like the little slide out seat, the drawers where you can just put your hand in over the top to open them, very easy to use. This front bed is quite clever, but I'm not sure how many people will need it or use it. More importantly, the bed at the back offers lengthways sleeping. And of course, this campervan is also all about all-season use. So you've got that very insulated and heated waste tank, the inboard fresh tank, the heated floor, which I really like. In fact, there's a lot of details to like in this van. And that, when you're spending 80 grand, when it comes down to detail and of course the build quality, that's what really matters. So, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed our latest campervan review. Many more motorhomes and campervans coming along soon.